How I got my first internship was pretty crazy in terms of what ended up happening before I got it. Mind you, I only have one internship under my belt, and then I got a full-time return offer for the same company. I'm not gonna say exactly who I work for, but I will give them a code name. We can call them Aerosmith, like the band. It took me 3 years, so like until my junior year to finally get my internship. And I'm gonna start from freshman to sophomore and to junior year because I can't explain my first internship without explaining the years of failure, which were my freshman and sophomore year. So some little background about me is I graduated with an aerospace engineering degree. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, getting that degree was not fun. Well, the end goal was fun, but going through those years of classes and all the hard work you have to go through was pretty hard. Coming out of high school, I was an introverted guy. I feel like that's still the case with me a little bit. Didn't really have much friends going into college, at least the college I went to. I only had 3 that were coming from my high school district, so I only knew 3 people, and only one of them was an engineer. The other 2 were in math, and the other one I'm not so sure, I forgot. My friend and I, the ones that were studying engineering, we didn't really have any of the same classes because he was studying mechanical engineer and I was studying aerospace engineer. At least the first 2 years are the same, but after that the courses are way different from each other. So as a freshman, my mindset was just do good in classes and you'll get a job. Later on, you learn that that's just not the case. You need to pretty much be involved in certain things and be active around the school, not just go to class, get all A's, get a 4.0 and leave, and you're somehow guaranteed a job, which is not the case. So every semester there's this thing called Expo, or that's what it was called. It's a career fair for my college. So in the fall semester, I kept getting emails about the career fair until it finally happened. But in my mind, I was like, I'm not going to get an internship or a job because I'm barely a freshman. Who's going to hire a freshman? The thing is, some people do hire freshmen, but usually you gotta be the most cracked person in the industry. You gotta have all kinds of things on your resume in order for that to happen. Or you can also be a very good personality hire. That's what I've learned throughout these years. You can be either or, no in between, you can be mid. So fall semester, I ignored it. I didn't go at all. And then my dad found out that I didn't go at all, kind of got mad at me and said, I'm gonna have to go to the next one. So the next one was in the spring. And whenever I went to this career fair, I went in blindly. I didn't know what to do. I searched up videos on what to expect and how to properly dress, how to talk to the people. And well, I didn't get anything. I was just making conversation and asking questions about what the people do at their company, like their roles, their tasks, daily things that they do pretty much. And for the most part, I got the same response by everyone. You're still a freshman, you need more experience, so come back next year. I was like, okay. During that semester, we did a project in class. It was a fidget spinner. It's pretty simple, just 3D model fidget spinner. Mine was like a Batman one. So that was one project I finally had on my resume, or that I could put on my resume. Because before that, in high school, I didn't really have much experience or at all. The only experience I had doing any engineering work was using SolidWorks, and that was about it. We didn't really build much. We didn't even use a 3D printer. In college, that's when I learned how to use a 3D printer. And the fidget spinner was 3D printed as well. And depending on if you won the contest in class, your model was also injection molded. So really, this is where I got my first hands-on experience with any engineering work, or the engineering process it takes to make a product. This was also on an individual level, so like this project was your own project. You didn't really work in a team. For the most part, classes were a little bit easy to me because I already took Calculus 1 and Statistics back in high school. Then I got a summer job, and my summer job was working at Domino's as a delivery driver. Then fast forward, coming back to my sophomore year, the career fair is only 3 weeks away from the start of the semester, so I was getting ready for that right away. And I went to the career fair and I got the same results saying you need more experience. This may sound dumb, but this is what I actually asked one of the recruiters. How would you expect me to get more experience as a freshman or sophomore? Especially since project classes aren't really until junior and senior year. For those that don't know, for an engineering degree, most of your first year and second year classes are all basic level classes. So that's like your calculus classes, your physics classes, your engineering ethic classes, like the basics. And then your third year and fourth year are your classes is the real reason why you went to college, to pursue your degree. The recruiters that answered back, they mostly told me the same things. You should join some organizations that do technical projects. So in my school, there was several different organizations that did rockets. There was like 3 different rocket organizations. There was a space one where they did satellites. There was also a racing one where it's like Formula One. They build a race car and they go through all the thermodynamics, the mechanical systems of the car, all that kind of stuff. And they have 3 different cars: a solar, combustion, and electric. The thing is, during my freshman year, I didn't know about these organizations because I would only go to class. I didn't go to any events outside of class or any other events that may have been going on around campus. So whenever you see people tabling for their organizations, pay attention to see if they grab any interest in you, because sometimes they will, and you don't bat an eye because you think they're annoying, because that's how I felt my freshman year. So I took the recruiter's advice and I applied to all the technical organizations. So the racing one, the space one, the rocket one, and even there's a plane one as well. And they treat these organizations like jobs, at least for the application process, because they have essays they ask for, and in your essays you have to explain why you want to be there and what you can do for the team if you were to be there. And if they like your answers, they would interview you. And after your interview, you won't hear for a couple of days after they select the people. I only got 2 interviews from out of all those organizations, and they denied me. Those organizations were very competitive because everyone wants to be in them. Because there's only, at least at my school, there's only maybe 6 technical orgs and just over 6,000 students that are studying engineering. Mind you, also not everyone is an engineer that becomes a member of these organizations. Some people are business students or communication students. They also have a team that does finance or the social media team. So it's not just engineering students. So most of these orgs are mostly recruiting for yearly students. They don't usually recruit every semester. I kind of gave up on them, so I never really applied to them again. There's many regrets that I have in college, and that's one of them. I should have kept applying so I can have more experience to show for hiring managers. Another thing I missed out on that I should have done, and this is another regret, is not asking professors if they need either research help or if you're interested in researching with them. Just communicate with them. Even in office hours, just go start a conversation with them. Ask them questions about how they got their job. Ask them what they did in their past, their interests, even hobbies. Just have a small conversation, or long, depending on what kind of yapper you are. Go to the spring career fair, and I got the same answers of get more experience. So around this time I asked, since I wasn't in any of the technical orgs, what else can I do to improve myself? And they said do some personal projects, do some social orgs, just do anything to get you involved outside of the classroom. This is very important because if it wasn't for these small little conversations, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. It is true, in college it's not just about getting all A's in the classroom. In 20 years, no one's gonna ask you your grades that you had in college. So it's important just to make connections with people and always ask questions no matter what, even if they're dumb. Sometimes there are dumb questions even though people said there isn't. So in the same semester in the spring of my sophomore year, I got the opportunity to do something nice for my grandmother, and also that could help improve my technical skills. One of my grandma's cats was attacked. I wasn't sure if it was a dog that attacked it or some other animal, or maybe even another cat, to the point where it couldn't walk anymore. It was dragging the back 2 legs it has around the ground, and it could still move the front legs of the cat, but he was just dragging his other legs. So I went online, did some research on how cat wheelchairs are made and what they look like. And I came up with 3 different prototypes, at least design wise. I didn't physically make them yet. It was only designs, and I only went based off references I saw online. Then I ended up picking one because it was adjustable, as the cat was still somewhat a baby. It was able to still grow, so might as well make one that's adjustable for its size when it's growing. I only had 3 weeks to design and build this. I found out 3 weeks before spring break, and for spring break I was just gonna go home and then go back to school. So I started designing. To design this I used Fusion 360 because I had a MacBook and I didn't have SolidWorks on my MacBook. I wasn't so sure how to design wheels as well, so that was pretty difficult. And the way I did it was I just went online and got a STL file of a wheel that looked a decent size for the wheelchair, not too big and not too small, even though it kind of looks big on the pictures. And I used PLA filament for the 3D printer because the university only has PETG and PLA filaments. I got no choice to use PLA only because all the PETG printers were being used. The only ones available were the PLA ones. So I printed all the parts. I didn't know how to print the rim and the tire itself together. So what I had to do was I had a heat gun. I heated up the tire so it can get a little bit wider, and then I put the rim inside there and I heated up the rim so that way it can expand, and it melted with the tire. So thing is, I was so lucky enough that it didn't melt everything. It only melted like the outer rim part that I needed and that outer tire part that I needed for it to glue together. The issue I had later on though was that since I use a heat gun to do that, the diameter of the wheel where you can bolt it with the leg of the wheelchair was shrunk. So I had to use a thread to make it wider, and thank God it worked. So this is what I did for my grandma and the cat. And here's a cat trying to use it for the first time. So this project was something I'm very proud of, and I was able to put this on my resume and to show it to hiring managers. So slowly my semester was coming to an end, so my sophomore year was ending. I didn't really make friends until that point in my college years. Like I said, the only friends I had until that point were still the ones I made in high school, which were only 3. So my engineering friend invites me to this social org and tells me to join their softball team, since he knew I played baseball in high school and pretty much my entire life until then. So I joined. The organization is called SHIP, which is the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. Never really heard of them until then, or been to a meeting until then. Got to meet the president of the organization, played in the softball team. We made it to the intramural championship game. Sadly, we lost, but I was able to make friends. I made friends with the president too, made friends with future presidents, made friends with future leadership of the organization. So connecting with these people got me to make more friends. If it wasn't for my high school friend, then I wouldn't be where I am now. It's like a butterfly effect. If I wasn't invited to this organization, it's impossible for me to tell this story today. So as I'm making friends with everyone in this organization, I am also making close friends with the president. And I'm asking him questions. How do you get involved? What do you have to do? Do you have to be very active? What's like an active person to you look like? How do you even become a part of the leadership team instead of just a member? These were the questions I kept asking whenever I was new to the organization. So my sophomore year ends, and then I go to a summer job, which was Whole Foods. And in our Slack for the organization, they release the application for the leadership team. So there is 12 directors in our organization, and they each have their own team. So I applied for the academic co-chair, which my role was to just help out the academic director with study sessions, scholarship help for students, study abroad info sessions, and research info sessions. just pretty much anything could help the organization academically. So I got accepted into that role. So it was very huge that I was part of a big organization now. My sophomore year, we had 250 members, and that's because I joined late. So I didn't even know how many people were involved in this organization. And then my junior year, so at the start of my junior year, we had over 300 members. So throughout the semester, I'm helping my director with events that go on. So in my junior year, I finally have, I would say, experience to show hiring managers that I am more than capable of being on your team. This time at the career fair, I wasn't given a straight, you need more experience. I was given, you'll hear from us soon, or we'll be in touch. So this shows that I had improvement through the last 2 years. And well, I didn't get any interviews from there. So coming back to SHIP, my organization, before getting my leadership role, I found out this thing called National Convention. And what it is, it's a very large career fair like the one we had for Expo, except it's in one location once a year in the US, and it's only SHIP members or SHIP national members that can go and be able to get job opportunities, internship opportunities, even research opportunities, anything you would want and need to help you further your career in the aerospace engineering or engineering in general. And aside from the application for the leadership team, they also have an application for people who want to go to convention, and they could potentially be sponsored by the organization. And they had separate tiers for the way they sponsored the students. Tier 1 was everything is paid for, which is your registration, your hotel, and your flight. Tier 2 is your hotel and your registration. Then Tier 3 is your registration only. So I ended up getting Tier 2, which I had to find my own flight, which wasn't too bad. And this conference is usually around the time of Dia de los Muertos. So it was at the end of October, the beginning of November. The year that I went, which was in 2023 in Salt Lake City. However, before this convention in Texas, we had a thing called Lone Star. And what it is, different SHIP chapters around the state of Texas going against each other for either flag football in the fall semester or soccer in the spring semester. And this was during the fall semester, so I was very involved in sports, especially in high school. So I wanted to be a part of the flag football team. This Lone Star Showdown happened 3 weeks, I believe, before we went to Utah. And the location where we played was at Texas A&M. And well, I graduated from UT, so we hate each other. But it wasn't just the 2 schools, there was like 8 other schools. However, we also only had 7 people from my school that went. So we barely had enough to play a game. Because you're supposed to, it's 7-on-7. And if one of us were to get hurt, we have to probably borrow someone from another team or play with only 6 people. So since everyone's exhausted, we get blown out the first game by A&M 42-7, I think. I can't remember the score. And then after that, we play another game and we win that one. And the first 2 games were exhibition games where they place you in the seedings and stuff. So since we got blown out, we were one of the last seedings. And we kept winning games after that point. We kept winning and we got to the championship game. And it was against none other than A&M. So the first play they scored, and then the second play we scored. And then after that, no one ever scores in the game again. There's about 2 minutes left in the game. We have the ball at our own 40-ish yard line. We're going down the field slowly. It's a big 3rd down. It was 3rd and 8. And I was the main guy to catch this ball, or was supposed to catch this ball. So I go to a corner route. I'm sorry if you guys don't know football, but I'm doing a corner route. I'm running. I see the ball in the air. As I'm going up for it, I kind of jumped too early. So I land, but the other guy, the corner, lands as well. Half my foot is on his feet and the other half is on the turf. And my knee kind of twists and pops. And 3 years ago, I had the same pop and twist whenever I tore my ACL back in high school. So I was very scared that I tore my ACL then and there again. And I couldn't run, but I could still walk off the field. And that pass was actually intercepted. But it's whatever right now because I'm actually hurt really bad. So I told the guys that I couldn't play anymore and I need someone to play in for me. And well, we ended up going to overtime. Like I said, I stopped playing and we lost the championship game 13-7. For 2 days, my knee was in pain constantly. So of course I had to go to the doctor and he told me you tore your ACL, but let's get an MRI to confirm it. So I get my MRI a week later and I get the results and he says you didn't tear your ACL, but you did tear your meniscus, so you're gonna need surgery. And my doctor told me you need to get surgery right away. Can it wait like after my conference that I go to in Utah? And he said yeah, but what you have to do is be in crutches whenever you're over there because I don't want you walking on your knee. And I was like okay. So from Austin to Utah, I'm on a flight with some friends that I meet along the way. I'm in crutches, hopping around Salt Lake City, getting to the hotel, trying to figure out my schedule for the conference, what I should go to event-wise, who I should talk to at the career fair. So I'm an aerospace student, so I'm going to go for the aerospace companies mostly. So Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, SpaceX, Firefly, all the big companies you can think of. I was low-key getting sore with my crutches every time I was trying to hop around. So we're going to talk about Aerosmith now. And well, Aerosmith was having a hospitality suite that day and I was trying to get through some lines, but it was very impossible because I'm going to try to show a picture where everyone was so congested that we couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't even move. I mean, I was in crutches too, so it feels very uncomfortable the way I was. And after an hour and a half in this random ass line, I finally get to where I need to go, which is all the way down the hall. So I'm going down the hall and then I see that there's a long line for the Aerosmith hospitality suite that I wanted to be at. And well, this is still funny to me. I got lucky. I saw my friends. Their names were... The reason I'm saying their names is because I wouldn't be here without them today. Alessandro, Andres, and Marcelo. Those guys were the goats. They let me cut in line with them. And they kind of make this joke here and there whenever I see them that we made you, bro. I'm in the line, whatever. As we're slowly getting to the door, the hiring managers are at the door looking at me in crutches. They're like, you want to come in already? Letting me cutting through some people already. I said as long as they can come with me. So I let my friends come as well. So I bring them in and I'm in crutches in this big room with hundreds of managers looking for a new applicant. They put me at the corner. They asked me who I wanted to speak to based on the list of my interest. And there was two teams I spoke to. One team was from one of the Carolinas, I can't remember which one, and Pennsylvania. Both of these teams had the same questions. What the hell happened to you? Because I'm in crutches. So I told them basically the same story I told you about the incident in A&M, but in more detail so I can have a dramatic effect for them. And well, I gave them my elevator pitch. In my pitch, I made a funny comment and they laughed that I made the wheelchair, and it was ironic that I ended up becoming disabled for some time. Spoke to each team for about 30 to 40 minutes and then got kicked out because we were there for too long and they were already closing the area. So I get to stop my conversation. Not even 30 minutes after I leave, I get a call for an interview the next day. And I was like, no way. In my head, I'm like, no way, thank you so much. So I said, yes, I'm gonna take this interview. Dead ass, as soon as I hung up the phone too, one of the hiring managers that I spoke to for the Pennsylvania job was outside walking back to her hotel. So she kept me accompanied for a couple minutes before we went off our separate ways. I asked her, what are several things you look for in an intern? Her main emphasis was on working in a team. That is the most important thing they look for this company. if you're able to work in a team, then you're able to show that you can work with others and you're not an arrogant person. So in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm in the leadership team, so this should be easy for me. And I asked her more in detail, does it matter what kind of team? Can it be a regular job like in Whole Foods, Domino's? And she said, yeah, it doesn't matter as long as you can prove that you can work in a team. And that's mostly the things that we look for. Or at least that was her perspective. Maybe there's other things they look for, but that's what I gathered from her. So she calls me an hour later about another interview. So now I got 2 interviews for the same company at Aerosmith. In both interviews, they asked the same exact questions. So I had a better preparation for one interview over the other because I knew what they were asking. No matter what question they asked you, you were always expected to answer in the STAR method, which is situation, task, action, and result. Don't remember exactly my answers, but I can kind of remember the questions. They asked mostly behavioral questions. I didn't have a single technical question asked to me. Why did you choose Aerosmith? Why did you want to work there? Explain a time when you had to work in a team and to solve a problem. Have the courses you've taken in your college career help prepare you to become an engineer? And I honestly cannot remember the 4th question, but I'll give an example how I answered the one about the teamwork. And they also encourage this on people, but it may seem embarrassing, but it's not. Like, I gave them an answer about a time I worked at Domino's. It's not embarrassing that you worked at a job. Everyone has to start somewhere. So my example was, there was a time where I was the only delivery driver for my time slot because the other 2 called in sick. So that's a situation. My task was to deliver 3 pizzas at once and then come back in a timely manner. And the action is for my manager, the people working inside the store would clock me in whenever they see me pulling up to the driveway. They would pack my pizzas in the bags and then they would bring it out to me and I give them the bag that is emptied from my car and then I leave. That was the action, like I said. And then the result was that we did all of these deliveries in a timely manner while also making money for the store and getting good ratings. I said something around those lines. It was more in detail, but so I can make the interview a little longer than it should be. Each interview was 30 to 45 minutes long. And of course, you ask your own questions. I'm not going to give out mine. Before I left, I asked, what are the following steps of the interviewing process? And then he said, they'll send you an email in 3 to 4 weeks, which didn't happen. And you'll hear from us then. So fast forward 3 to 4 months, not weeks, I get an email from Aerosmith about if I'm still interested in working for them. And I said yes. So I had another interview, this time with my current manager. And so this interview was not a behavioral interview. It was an interview based on my resume. Take me down the list of your resume and tell me everything in detail, what you mean here and there. At first, I thought he was talking about a different resume because I updated my resume after the conference. So I had a lot more updates since the conference and I was still applying to Aerosmith online. So I wasn't sure if I got my interview from online applying or whenever I went to the conference in Utah. And then I saw the picture of my resume and then I was like, oh wait, this is the resume from Utah. So I know they're still looking at my stuff from before then, so since the conference. So I give them everything in detail about my resume, give them the rundown, and the interview goes well. I asked them some questions, the people who interviewed me. It wasn't just my manager, it was like other people in there. And then they said I will hear within a week or 2. And then I was sitting in the office for my organization for SHIP. And I was with my best friend, Miguel, also known as The Line. I showed him the email I received and it was my internship offer. I was like, no fucking way. And he's like, bro, that's badass. I'm so proud of you. Because this is a full circle moment too. Because whenever I joined, when I was still not out of my introvert shell, and not very involved in the org at this point. Back in my sophomore year, he was one of the first people to help me out with my resume and how to improve it. And now that he saw me get an internship and he was the first person to know, was pretty cool.
That's what I'm talking about. This shit means something to me, man.
So that's how I got my internship, and the internship went well. During my internship, I asked my manager, why did you choose me out of all the other candidates you could choose from? He said, I like that you weren't afraid to leave your jobs that you had for summer jobs, which were Domino's, Whole Foods, and also I liked your wheelchair that you did for your cat, especially since it was for your grandma. He basically said that I like you were able to use the skills you've been learning in college by implementing 3 different wheelchair prototypes and choosing one based on the potential growth of the cat and saving $100 instead of buying a wheelchair for the cat. And that got me to be like, oh, I like this guy. He's also willing to help out others. So that's why I choose you. That's what he pretty much said to me whenever I asked him why I was chosen out of all the other candidates he could have chosen from. So make sure you always ask questions because they will lead you to the answers you are looking for. I did ask so many questions on my way to getting to this internship. So I asked, how should I get more experience? Well, try join technical orgs. That failed. Well, if I can't get in a technical org, what else should I do? Try doing projects on the side or getting in a social org. I did both of those, eventually leading up to a leadership role in the social org. So as long as you ask the right questions, then you will get the right answers as well. It's just up to you to take action and actually apply the answers that have been given to you. Some advice I have for people who are looking for an internship: don't be afraid to leave your past jobs on there, especially if you're trying to get your first internship or your first entry-level job. Make sure you join orgs. Doesn't matter whether it's a technical org, a social org, just get involved in some kind of community. Also reach out to professors if you're more interested in research stuff. So getting your internship is not just about your grades. Of course, you should have at least a 3.0 or 3.5 depending on what the requirements is for a certain job. But always try to make friends around you because they will help you in the long run and you will benefit from it, and you will help each other as well. So you won't just getting help from them, you will help them as well. For those of you who are looking for your first internship and you're still a freshman and sophomore, even a junior, don't get too worried. Some of my friends didn't get an internship and they got a full-time offer right away after graduating. I know it may be difficult right now in this job market, especially with AI now. Just do your best reaching out to people, friends, your connections in college, and hopefully you can get your internship or first entry level job. For those of you that are new, this is the type of content I make, like a story video. It's not always just stories. I can probably rant about any topic I would like to discuss whenever I feel like it, and I'm just cooking in the background, whatever dish. You guys can also comment on what dish you would like for me to make. Also, the way to make the dishes I made them are in the description. You always don't have to follow them, but that's just the way I made them. If you like this type of content, like, subscribe, comment, and thank you. I'll see you all later.